that was super exciting.
Many people wanted this feature.
Green bubbles are becoming more powerful.
Your area of expertise.
You now see a short summary, big redesign to the Photos app. I really need this feature right now.
Which brings us to... Hello everyone, welcome to PhoneArena show, the podcast for the rest of us. With me here as always is Vic, I'm Rad. Welcome PhoneArena show, episode 6 if I'm not mistaken. And of course the big topic for today's
Here we go.
occasion is
WWDC.
WWDC.
It was a really big event. Lots of new stuff, information overload, nearly 2 hours. One of the biggest events, and it started with a bang.
It started with a bang. You're in love with it, so tell me all about it. What you think about the intro, the hair, and everything?
Yeah, the intro was really cool. You had all major Apple executives on the plane. Phil Schiller driving the plane. So it was all in the best traditions of Apple. The details were, it reminded me of that epic Google event way back when they also did the real world stuff. With the Google Glass one, exactly. So it was a pretty epic start to WWDC. And then you had Tim Cook on top of Apple Park. So really cool framing.
I think though the Google Glass one was real jump off.
There was a slight difference. Obviously the Apple one was staged, but it was really well made, really cool details.
But the Google one didn't have the hair, how did you call it?
Nobody has the Apple Hair one.
Apple Hair one, yeah, exactly.
So you have Craig Federighi, which is basically taking over these Apple keynotes in a really big way. I really like what he's doing.
He's a software guy, right?
He's a software guy, it's his thing.
That's his forte.
And he's also really charismatic. He was playing different roles throughout the event. It was a big event for Apple. They talked about all of their 6 major platforms, updates to all of them.
Information overload.
Yep, and you had an epic ending to the event with AI, but not artificial intelligence.
No, it's a whole different thing.
It's a new thing called Apple Intelligence.
Apple Intelligence.
But we're going to talk more about this later. So I think we could just basically kick it off in the same order that
one by one.
Yeah, one by one.
Yeah.
And first they open up with visionOS.
Some doubted it.
Yeah.
That we're going to have visionOS 2, but there it was.
And it didn't feel like visionOS 2.0.
No.
It felt like, like a smaller update. Basically, the interface is mostly the same.
Yeah.
You can now rearrange the icons on the home screen in visionOS, which is nice because it's a little convenience.
All 10 icons.
But yeah, good point. You have some new environments, which is cool, some new experiences. And what was the biggest feature in visionOS for you? Did you have something that
I'm
stood
not
out?
really sure. I don't have a favorite feature. The biggest one from what they showed, at least, I don't know, maybe there's going to be more down the road, or maybe there's some that they didn't show on the keynote, but I really like the bigger and better Mac display, because that one, that's very useful right now as it is, but you can notice that the image quality is not exactly native. It's not exactly the best possible for the displays of the Vision Pro. There is a difference between if you use the Mac display versus the Vision Pro display.
Definitely, yeah.
There is a small difference in the clarity. So, and they said it's going to be better, higher resolution, so that's great. And also you can make it bigger. You can make it super wide, ultra wide display, which sounds great. So that's what I liked. And then obviously the other big one is the gesture for going back to the home screen apps, which was strangely missing from 1.0. You always had to push the hardware button to go back to the home page.
So little conveniences, but for me also the new Mac display was the big feature. And when I was using the Apple Vision Pro, one thing you notice on the Mac display, it's not quite as high res as you mentioned, but also there was a slight lag. I don't know if you experienced the same. A little bit of lagging. I'm curious if they're gonna fix this in visionOS 2.0. And what they mentioned about the resolution is really cool. They're using a technology called dynamic foveation, so which is really cool.
I think that's how everything works across the Vision Pro, though. and most VR headsets out there.
Yeah, I guess
Like
so.
you get the super high resolution where your eyes are focusing on, and then the rest is just
Exactly.
like peripheral vision.
Yeah,
so to
that's
speak.
a good explanation. And you also can now, thanks to machine learning, you can transform your regular photos, at least some of them, to 3D photos, which is cool. So you don't have to take all new pictures. You can see that depth effect in an image.
Did you like 3D photos on the Vision Pro?
Yeah, they were okay. I wasn't blown away by them. Probably
Me neither.
depends on the picture. With some pictures it will work really well. But yeah, it's a nice little thing.
I was blown away by the panorama experience, but
Panoramas
the
are-
3D photos I didn't really get. But yeah,
Yeah.
anyway.
And you also got a new camera, Canon R7, that can capture high quality video with the depth effect for the Vision Pro. And that's basically something that Apple mentioned, but that was just about it. You also get an international launch for the Vision Pro finally.
My favorite feature.
Yeah.
There
So
it is.
it's coming to Canada, Australia, and Europe in July, and even earlier at the end of June to China, Singapore, and some other countries in Asia. So
Finally, yeah, for Europe, pre-orders June 28th and release date is July 12th.
and the price is even higher than in the US. Well, that's because of taxes.
How much did you pay? 10,000 euro?
It was
No? 8,000 euro?
it was lower than that, but
How much? 5,000? No, you can have it for just 4,000 euro.
so yeah, there was that.
There was that, yeah. What? Is that an impressive price point?
It
is.
I think
For
it's
just 3,999
Yeah.
euro, you can get the Vision Pro in Europe, starting July 12th.
tough pill to swallow. All right, next up we got the Craig Federighi show started with iOS.
Right.
And lots of big features. Here, maybe let's start with what you thought was your highlight, and I'll share mine. What
Another tough question. Like, you mean Apple Intelligence aside, right?
Apple Intelligence aside, that was maybe.
I feel that like iOS 18 is going to be more of a quality of life update. That's how I see it, at least. I don't see any one single feature which is a killer feature aside from Apple Intelligence. But yeah, lots of good, welcome quality of life updates. I mean, if you look at it, the home screen personalization, obviously the big one, where you can rearrange icons. I don't know if many people wanted this feature, like have it in pretty much any other OS out there, be it mobile or desktop.
Yeah.
I want to put my app icons wherever I want. There you go. Now you can have an ugly home screen with scattered apps all around. Control center customization and control center gallery, so it's going to be way more powerful than that. Big one. I don't know. I love most of these things, like the ability to lock your apps behind security.
That's really cool. Yeah.
That's really cool. Felt like it's like a long time coming. But yeah, iMessage, the new text effects, great. Yeah, I don't know what to say really. None of these features were something that I was really looking forward to or needing them, very strongly. But I get all of them. I think all of them are good. Like, to me, that's a big quality of life update. Gaming was already great on iPhone. You now have game mode for even better gaming. Sure, cool.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite?
So for you, it was the sum of all features.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I think maybe a big highlight was the addition of RCS. So finally, iOS 18 has RCS support for messages, and green bubbles are becoming more powerful. So you still have green bubbles, but you at least now can have high quality images, you can have read receipts, and this is something that many people wanted, and it's finally happening, so that's great. Just one thing here to note, just don't expect end-to-end encryption to happen automatically, because it turns out that RCS end-to-end encryption is dependent on some standards. So for example, the Google Android implementation uses a slightly different standard. So we're gonna give you a deeper dive on this in a separate article about RCS on our website, PhoneArena.com. But yeah, iOS 18 brings RCS finally, and instead of SMS, as far as I know. So that's a pretty big feature, I think.
And now, you no longer need to get your mom an iPhone. That's the big takeaway.
Yeah, that was the quote that Tim
You can
Cook,
get an Android.
the famous
A cheap
quote.
Android phone for your mom.
Yeah. So now, great. You can participate in your group chats on Apple Messages with your Android phone.
Dear mom, I made you this Genmoji, super mom.
Oh, Genmojis. Genmojis were cool.
I don't know. That's maybe, I don't know if that's iOS 18 or is it Apple Intelligence. I'm not sure.
So that was the thing. Maybe we should start talking about this, because Apple talked about Apple Intelligence at the end of the event as this next era, and it felt like a completely new stage for Apple. But those features, those are the ability to rewrite stuff using generative AI.
Yeah.
You can rewrite email, you can proofread your emails. You have this new Genmoji feature. It basically, you explain what kind you want, a dinosaur on a skateboard wearing bikini or whatever, and it can create crazy stuff and create an emoji out of that. You can send it, and that uses AI. So that's really cool. But those features, as far as we see, are only coming to the latest iPhones, and I mean those that have the A17 Pro chipset.
That's the big sad news from the event.
So even if you have a regular iPhone 15, a new model, not the Pro version, you will not be able to use them.
Hey, that's Apple Intelligence AI for the rest of us. Only iPhone 15 Pro, Pro Max, and M-powered iPads and Macs are gonna get it.
So that's really, that's a strange thing.
You know, for the rest of us.
That was the official slogan that Apple used, for the AI for the rest of us. And
then only like the most top-end products get it.
Yeah. That was really strange.
Well, at least the M1 got it, so that's not too crazy. You know?
Yeah, our laptops will support it someday. So that's the good stuff. Right. So what else is new?
Still waiting for the days for when we're gonna get like high refresh rates for the rest of us, but that's maybe down the road. Maybe 2027, maybe something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I think it's coming maybe next year. We'll see.
Maybe next year, that's what they say.
Let's hope so. So maybe let's quickly just run over the other changes in iOS. So you have the home screen, the new look. You can arrange apps. You have new theming options, so you can make all of your apps in a certain color, which can create some really ugly home screens. And if you pick the right color, they can look okay.
Yeah.
But it's a nice option to have. It doesn't hurt to have it. I really like the dark mode icons. You have now all your icons can transform in dark mode versions, so it's easier to use your phone at night. That's great. You have the new control center. So basically you have multiple panels for your control center. You can have a separate multimedia home screen. You can customize it all. It's
almost like too complex for a control center.
It can become a bit too complicated.
I don't know if I'm gonna use it. Seems like too much. Too many options.
I think I'm fine with the way it looks nice. It looks currently, but I imagine if you use many smart home appliances, you want to control each one. You can now easily set it up. So I think if you have a smart home, that would be nice. But otherwise, maybe for the 90% of people, no need to use it. You have new privacy features. You can hide an app. We already mentioned that. Lock an app behind your Face ID. Really cool. You have new options for messages, new text effects. And now you can also use messages via satellite, which is cool. So for example, you go on a distant hike and you can just send a text message, "I've arrived in the desert." So yeah, people are not worried. I think that's a pretty cool feature.
Yeah.
I think it's limited to the US right now, the satellite support. Then you have the Mail app, also a redesign to the Mail app, way long overdue because the Mail app on iOS is super basic
Is it
right now.
redesigned? What's the new thing?
So you can categorize your emails and you have different categories. You can have your priority emails, your transactions, for example, your receipts, stuff like that. And you have also a smart summary of your emails and your notifications on the lock screen. So instead of seeing the first line, you now see a short summary.
But that's Apple Intelligence, though.
That's Apple Intelligence. But the new Mail app, from what I see, should arrive to all iPhones, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it arrives to all iPhones actually, but because it uses some AI, so
Maybe without the AI features.
yeah, we have to see about that. But then you
It's
have
not for the rest of you, just for the rest of us.
yeah. So I'm currently using an iPhone 15, by the way, so it's not for me either.
It's not for you, yeah.
All right. Next up, we have Apple Maps, which got topographic maps, which are those contour maps. All major U.S. national parks support it. Really cool.
Tim Cook's favorite places to be
Yeah.
on off days.
Game mode. This minimizes background notifications and makes your latency
I think
smaller.
it minimizes background notifications for sure, but also just general background activity, I think.
Yeah.
So as to channel more resources towards the visuals of the game. And also it reduces the latency even further when you're using game controllers.
Yeah. Well, that's nice. That's nice to see. We see Apple focusing more and more on games, even on the Mac side. And Apple has always been kind of the joke around the table when it comes to gaming. But things are slowly, very slowly starting to change, I think.
And they're having this new game porting toolkit.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure how popular it is with developers.
Ubisoft is on board now, so that's a big name in the gaming industry.
Yeah.
So that's
Little
something.
by little.
Yeah. And then you had a big redesign to the Photos app, which is cool. It also uses lots of this
I like the
machine
new
learning.
Photos app. It's cool. Like having all these, because I never visit the other tabs. I'm just on library.
Yeah.
And so now you get them all in one single view, which is, I don't know, looks good to me.
It's definitely a cleaner, nicer look. And you have new photo editing features. You can magically erase someone from an object. So
the cleanup feature.
the cleanup feature, really good. And of course, it's something that Pixel phones have had for a while. So it's not new for the industry.
Is it only on Pixel at this point?
I think other Galaxy phones also have it, but I'm not sure if it's on all of Android. I think not.
Got it.
I was really hoping for Apple to add cinematic filters to
What do you mean cinematic?
I mean, like film simulation, like if you follow the camera world, like Fuji cameras are having a moment right now, and their mojo is kind of, they have these very specific look to their photos that they kind of look like film. They have very nice colors.
Right.
And Apple has never really been good with filters. You have like 6 or 7 built-in filters, which are just very basic.
Basic filter.
Yeah, and I was hoping Apple would jump onto that bandwagon, but unfortunately, no.
No, they still have like warm, cold, cool. No, it's cool.
Cool, vibrant.
Cool, vibrant. Vivid, warm. Vivid, cool.
Just very basic filters. And that was it for iOS.
Pretty much, yeah. If we leave most of the Apple Intelligence thing aside, I mean, for sure there's going to be way more under the hood improvements and other little features, but for the big ones, I think we covered them.
Yeah. So next up, I think we can jump over to iPadOS, which was the bigger announcement also, and I was hoping to see iPad get a bit more capable with multitasking, become closer to the Mac, this didn't happen.
And instead,
But instead, we got a feature that you really like. So tell us about it.
calculator. Woo! I don't know. I don't get the, the grumbling because of yeah. Sure, I try to use I try to make the switch to an iPad with a keyboard and kind of integrate that into my whole workload. It didn't work out really.
Yeah.
Mostly because of the, reduced, limited multitasking capabilities. So I'm equally sad, but yeah, calculator is here. We've been waiting for it for maybe, over a decade. It's here, built-in calculator app. Apple proved that it could do it. And the wait, boy, was it worth it.
Yeah, it's a pretty powerful calculator app. It's not just any calculator app.
It's not just any calculator. It has math notes
Yeah.
where you can handwrite or scribble mathematical equations, and then it's gonna solve them for you. Imitating your own handwriting, mind you. I mean, it's all really cool, all of that stuff.
Yeah, and it was the demo they showed was really impressive. You can have like many variables on screen, and you change the variable, and if you can have a graph also, it can generate a graph with the function, and when you change the variable, the graph will also change. All the calculations happen automatically. It feels magical.
It looks super cool. I mean, also super niche, but super cool. Definitely.
Don't you wish you were back in high school now?
Not really, but I wish I could understand better all of these mathematical things and charts and how to do them. But you know what? But at least it has integrated, it feels like it has an integrated notes app right into the calendar app right now. Because when you switch to math notes, you can do crazy stuff in there. You can attach photos, files, videos, stuff like voice memos into the math notes within the calculator app, which is nuts.
Yeah.
Like, this is the most fully featured calculator app ever.
And it was specifically tailored for the Apple Pencil, which kind of strikes me as the focus and the way Apple stressed the new capabilities of the Apple Pencil was really the big thing about iPadOS. It was all about the Apple Pencil. And you also have this new feature called Smart Script? All right. So Smart Script.
That's a big one.
That's the big one. It improves the way your handwriting looks.
Yeah.
I don't have the
Finally,
I don't have the prettiest handwriting, but it's okay.
Yeah.
When I write on an iPad using Apple Pencil, it looks terrible.
right.
And this kind of fixes it, and it's a big improvement. I really like this feature. It's not multitasking, but it's something that Apple is focusing on. And basically uses on-device machine learning to do that. And
it's really cool because it's not doing it as you're writing, because that would, maybe increase the latency stuff. But also, it doesn't mess with your handwriting. So as soon as you're done with a phrase or a word, then it processes it and makes it prettier. So that's really cool.
It looks really well made. Yeah, and you can also do stuff like scratch out text to erase it easily, which is also nice. And you have plenty of those conveniences that have been implemented. And I think that was everything new with the iPad. You have also a new floating tab bar for icons for navigation within apps, which is a small convenience, but yeah, Apple is doing something there.
It sounds like a big deal. I just don't get why. This new tab bar.
Yeah, it's really not a big deal, but Apple made it to seem to look bigger than it is, I think. And then I think we can jump over to watchOS, which I like the Apple Watch.
Your area of expertise.
Yeah. Right now I'm wearing a Garmin watch, and the major reason for that is because the Apple Watch battery life sucks. If Apple could make an Apple Watch with 2 days of battery life, that would be a game changer. And I don't mean the Apple Watch Ultra, which is just too big for me. So if you have a regular Apple Watch, 2 days battery life, I would switch in an instant. But with 1 day battery life, it's just a bit too limiting. No news about battery life.
What's the battery life on this Garmin?
About 8 to 10 days with the always-on screen off.
Okay.
And with the always-on screen, I get 4 days. So 4 to 10 days, I would say.
10 days. Okay.
And right now I'm not using the always-on screen, so I get more than a week. So
and you'd sacrifice that for a 2-day battery life on the watch?
Yeah, 2-day battery life is doable. Yeah, I can live with 2-day battery life. But 1-day battery life is just a bit too annoying. So anyway, no news about battery life in watchOS 11, but we got a new feature which is called training load, and I like this one. This is basically it estimates the effort you put in your workout based on the data you have on your watch, your heart rate, etc. And for some activities, like for example, your strength workouts, your functional strength workouts, where you don't have this estimation, you can do this manually. You can select your exertion level, your training load.
But also you can calibrate it, right? If, for example, it estimates your training load for this workout session to be, let's say, 3, you can move that out of 10. You can move it to 5, let's say, if you feel that way.
Yeah. That's a good point. You can tweak it and get it just right. And then you also get a graph which kind of tracks it over time. And new is also that in order to continue your streaks, you can also pause, take a day off, basically. Take a rest day or a rest week when you're traveling, and you don't need to break your streak or whatever you have going on your Apple Watch. And I think that's really nice because with the Apple Watch, you can kind of fall in this trap of always having to work out and overexert yourself. And now you have a way to address that in a really small and subtle, easy way. And that's a really...
But what happens if I decide to pause my streak like for weeks on end, and then when I return to working out, I just resume and then pause it again when I stop, so I never end my streak? Can I do that?
Yeah, I guess you can. I'm not sure. I have to test it out.
That would be stupid.
Yeah. I don't think that you can kind of... you can probably kind of cheat this, like pause your streak whenever you don't feel like working out. So probably you can do it. The app won't stop you from doing that.
They should put a limit.
One rest day.
One rest day per week. That's it.
Yeah, I don't think there are such limits. And you also have a new Vitals app, which basically explains...
For all of you.
For the rest of you.
For the rest.
And speaking of for the rest of us, the Apple Watch, I think Apple Watch Series 4 it no longer supports this watchOS version, so you have to have the Apple Watch Series 5 or Series 6 or later. But again, check our website, PhoneArena.com, for the exact details here. I'm sure that Series 6 and later will support the new watchOS 11. So the new Vitals app, basically you have various pieces of data that your Apple Watch collects. One of my favorites, for example, is the HRV metric, which stands for heart rate variability.
Okay.
And the idea is that you have these pauses between your heart rate pulses. So your heart doesn't go like in a straight line.
So it varies the interval.
It varies the interval between beats. And the higher the variability, actually, the better you are. So your heart can adapt better. And it's also a sign if you're kind of falling ill, your HRV is lower. And if you're feeling good, you're getting enough sleep, your HRV number will be higher.
But if the HRV gets lower, that means like the variability is less.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Basically, all of those complex measurements, which you could previously see in the Apple Health app, are now available in a separate Vitals app. And you can see a trend and you can see a short explanation. So most people who are not into fitness, who are not product tech reviewers, don't know about HRV. And now you can basically go in the Vitals app and see all this data and actually learn what they mean. And I think that's really nice. The Vitals app will be available on the Apple Watch. I'm not sure if it's coming to the iOS ecosystem. Maybe it is, but it will be available on the watch itself. And you can also receive alerts there about some changes to...
all the good things for hypochondriacs.
Yeah, and you also have a change to cycle tracking for women. You have new pregnancy metrics there. So basically, for example, when a woman is pregnant, the heart rate would increase, and the Apple Watch would track that, show you those changes, and all good.
All good stuff.
Yeah, and that is all that was new in watchOS. You also have some changes to the Smart Stack. For example, when it starts raining, you see a widget with the raining forecast appear on your watch.
Which is very useful. It would change according to context.
Yeah. And you didn't have this before, so that's nice. But these are all the new changes for the Apple Watch and watchOS.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so that leaves us with, what, do we have another one? macOS?
Oh, macOS was big. This was my favorite.
Yeah, the crack marketing team on it again. macOS Sequoia.
Yeah.
Coming soon. Your favorite feature there is...
Here we go. iPhone mirroring. Woo! I didn't know I didn't know I would enjoy this one as much as I did. But when they announced it, I was like, "Whoa, that was super exciting! I really need this feature right now," because I'm constantly working on my Mac, obviously, and I'm constantly getting also notifications on my phone. You have to kind of open your phone, see what's up, then go back to the Mac.
It's good. So you get notifications from your phone.
And you can basically operate your phone.
Do everything, right?
Do everything from your Mac.
Right.
Which is really cool for stuff like, for example, you can post Instagram stories only from your phone. The Mac doesn't support this. And now you can do this with this iPhone mirroring.
That's great.
You can clear notifications, you can place calls.
And it's like the phone is doing everything, right?
Yeah.
Like you're controlling from the Mac, but all the operations are happening on the iPhone.
I'm not sure about this.
Because they show that during all of this, the phone remains locked. It's showing the lock screen. It's not like showing what's happening in real time, because that would be bad for privacy, obviously.
Yeah.
Because you're doing it from the Mac.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So I think it's locked. It's showing the lock screen, but under that, I think it's
still
doing
working.
all the operations. Yeah, I don't think it's happening on the Mac.
Yeah, that's why it's mirroring. So basically, that makes sense what you're saying. So it's kind of mirroring the phone, but the operations and everything is happening on the phone itself.
Seems really smart.
Yeah, and it's a big advantage for it. It's further locking into the Apple ecosystem. It's a smart thing
You
to
were
do.
just about to detach. Just about to
And
get
you're
out
back
and
in.
then go back in.
Yeah, but it makes sense for Apple to do this, and it's really cool. Yeah. So what else was new in macOS? So they talked about a new passwords app, which is not just macOS only. It's also available on the iPhone, iPad, and it's basically your iCloud password keychain in a separate app with a nice interface. All your passwords categorized.
I like that.
Yeah, it's really nice, and for me, this is one of a few apps that actually work well. I'm having constantly problems with passwords on Chrome, for example, which I used before, and I switched in the recent months to the Apple solution. It works flawlessly, so I'm glad that you now have it even better in a separate app. And what else was new? Some new games coming to the Mac. Slight redesign to Safari with a redesigned and more powerful reader mode, which is again one of my favorite Safari features. And I think that's about it in terms of non-AI stuff.
Yeah, which brings us to AI, meaning Apple Intelligence. The AI for the rest of us.
The AI for the rest of us.
Right.
And the cool thing about this is that, or I should say, the interesting, peculiar thing about this is that Apple refused to mention the words AI
I like that.
before. It would say machine learning or anything else, just not artificial intelligence.
Did they say AI during the keynote?
Yes, they used the term AI, but before that, I mean, in previous keynotes they didn't use it. They just and now, but they clarified that it means Apple Intelligence. I think they used the term AI a few times, but you should know what it stands for.
Finally, we know what it means, AI, Apple Intelligence.
And that felt like a generational change for me. you get a much smarter Siri, you get better capabilities. And yes, it feels like catch up to Android and the other ecosystems that kind of have this.
But why? Do you mean like Siri's own smartening up? Is that what you mean? Or
I'm referring more to the photo editing features, the rewriting capabilities that are now baked in the systems. Those
Right.
features were already
Yeah.
available for at least a year, I would say, on different platforms. So in those features, they are not new. Apple is catching up.
yeah.
But it's also doing it in a different way when it comes to personalizing AI and making use of all of that data that's already available on your phone. So you have a lot of personal information. And other companies don't seem to be doing that, actually.
No.
So that's one big advantage for Apple Intelligence.
Plus, as typical Apple, I still think that, sure, others already have the integrations with AI for composing text, even maybe image generation, rewriting, all of that stuff. Good stuff, but it still feels that now Apple is doing it in the Apple way,
Yeah.
which is a more, again, like they're taking their time a little bit, not rushing to release the features. They've been working on them, obviously, but they're not rushing to release them. But it feels refined, like the experience, the user interface, the way they've implemented them, both on the iOS and on the Mac, especially. It feels refined. It feels native.
Yeah, and they got even the little details right. For example, if you look at Siri, it used to be this pop-up bubble that appears at the bottom of your screen, which is kind of an element on your screen. And now Siri, you don't get the pop-up bubble anymore. And instead, you get this frame all around your screen that signifies this Siri is kind of all around your iPhone.
Yeah.
So it's those little details, the animations, the visualizations that make more sense, and you can see how Apple has put more effort in this compared to other companies.
And also, I think they were relatively successful in convincing us that this is the just as capable, but also privacy first AI implementation anywhere.
Yeah, that was a big point. That was obviously Apple's forte,
Yeah.
privacy, having all your personal data untouched. And we still don't know the details here, but we know that some, and Apple says a lot of this AI processing happens on device.
Yeah.
And only occasionally, when you need to do something more complex, it would use an external so-called unsafe server. And even then, which is ChatGPT, let's clarify it right away. But even then, it will actually hide your IP. So your IP address will not be associated with that request on that server. So you have, I'm not sure how much of a privacy feature this one is, because once your data goes to the cloud of ChatGPT, I'm not sure if that's like...
But that's not always though. I mean, for certain tasks, they have the models, the language models and the diffusion models, which are the image generation models, working on device.
Yeah.
But also for more complex queries, whatever that means,
Yeah.
it sends them to the cloud.
To the Apple cloud.
To the Apple cloud, though.
Yeah.
So this thing that they call private cloud compute, which is an Apple thing.
Yeah.
So they have bigger models working there to process those more complex inquiries.
Which I would imagine probably image generation would be one of them.
I'm not sure.
We don't know.
You
Yeah.
can have image generation on device at this point. It's powerful enough.
Okay.
But I'm not sure when exactly they use that. But and so they say your data is never stored on that private cloud compute. used only for your request, and it's verifiable privacy promise, which I really like because you can talk about privacy all day, but
if it's not verifiable,
I mean, they're so confident in that they're saying, yeah, here, come in, you can see how it works and verify our promises,
right,
which
so
is great.
if we break it down, you kind of have three types of AI. First one is completely on-device AI, completely private. The second type is slightly more complicated requests that go to the Apple cloud, which is this private verifiable cloud. And the third one is those super complex queries that cannot be answered by Apple, that require these large language models, and those are ChatGPT based.
And
those,
to be fair, they're positioning it as if you want to use a different tool.
Yeah, and every time you have to make the jump to ChatGPT, you get a prompt which says go to ChatGPT, like open ChatGPT, which is fine in terms of privacy, but I can see how this can get really annoying quickly if you're using ChatGPT a lot and you have to always tap this prompt, you have one extra step. But that's the Apple way of doing things: privacy first, convenience maybe takes a second seat there. So yeah, that was AI. You have image generation. You have a new image playground, I think.
Yeah,
What's the name?
I think it's an app, the Playground app, where you can just experiment with everything. You have 3 different styles for image generations. What were they? Sketch is one of them.
Illustration and animation, maybe.
Or maybe photo. I'm not really sure. Anyway.
You have 3 different styles.
Yeah, 3 different styles for image generation. You can do that in pretty much all the native apps, for sure. I mean, like in Notes, for example.
Yeah, I think they mentioned you can also use it in third-party apps.
In third-party apps, I think they said that they're making it super easy for developers to add these features.
You have an API.
With just a few lines of code, which I would imagine is a bit more than that, but anyway. Should be easy enough if you're a developer to implement that. So but in built-in apps, whenever you get a text field or an app with
the keyboard
keyboard input and with the abilities to host visuals like notes, for example, you get these features there.
Yeah. And one more time, let's mention that all these AI features are only coming to
the rest of us,
which is a very limited amount of iPhones. It's iPhone 15 Pro, 15 Pro Max, and probably all new iPhones in the future. But earlier models, I should say, the regular iPhone 15, iPhone 14 Pro, Pro Max series do not support the Apple Intelligence features. You can get the developer beta right now, but unless you're a developer, you probably should wait for the public beta, which is coming in July. And of course, the big public release, final release is coming this fall, usually in September. Yeah, all new platforms, iOS, iPadOS, macOS.
And the sad part here is that much of these smarter Siri and a lot of the more advanced, interesting features that they showed for Siri and for Apple Intelligence are probably going to come even later than that. Some are scheduled for next year, for example.
That's a good point. And I think that was a wrap for all the new things at WWDC.
I think so, yeah. And I think I know why only the iPhone 15 Pros are getting Apple Intelligence features.
Why is that?
Because the A17 Pro is a Pro processor.
Okay.
Because it's A17 Pro.
Okay.
And then all the other iPhones don't have Pro chipsets, like their A16.
But do you think there's like a particular element they're missing, or?
It's in the name. It's Pro. It says it all.
No,
it's a Pro chipset.
That's one theory. I think probably what they have what makes some sense is only these 2 models have 8 gigabytes of RAM, and I think all previous iPhone models have 6 gigs of RAM. And as far as I know, AI
Yeah.
requires a
It
lot
needs
of
a lot
RAM.
of RAM. Yeah.
And the Pro chipset.
And a Pro chipset, it has to be called a Pro. Otherwise, it will not work. Or M. Yeah, you're entirely right. The on-device models.
Yeah.
So if you're doing it in the cloud, it doesn't matter how much RAM you have.
And let's remind the viewers that right now you can use ChatGPT, you can use Gemini on
Copilot,
your
everything.
everything freely on your iPhone. No worries. So this is just baked in natively in a more convenient way. But you can use ChatGPT right now on an iPhone.
Yeah,
10.
just install the apps and you have it.
Or just use the web interface, even if you don't have the app.
So it's really cool to have all of this power on device, right? Because you have it, it's in you, and it's not like some Altman's gonna like pull the plug on the GPT tomorrow and you no longer have it, or put a big giant paywall, which I think is actually the more probable scenario, like $200 for ChatGPT AI, and then you get for the rest of us part because you have it on device right here.
And Apple said Apple Intelligence is free, which is great, great news, but it also begs the question, will Apple Intelligence Plus be a paid service? Which is probably coming sometime in the future. I wouldn't be surprised. Of course, that's just a speculation.
Yeah, stop speculating. Yeah, so I think that's it. Pretty much done. A wrap for today's show. A barrage of new announcements from WWDC. Anything else you want to add?
Let us know which one is your favorite feature. What did you like about this event? The comment section is open.
Alrighty, and with that, thanks and catch you up next time.
See you around.